The master, the man, the living legend. No words can begin to describe the legacy this man has created. There is too much, in so many ways, that has been shaped in books, movies, and society in general by his work. So instead, let's just let his work speak for itself. These are the best 5 books, in my own opinion, King has brought into being, from the perspective of horror, always. The Dark Tower 1, The Gunslinger. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. This is another world, perhaps, where a lone gunslinger is on a chase and has been for quite some time. The man he's chasing, if we could call it a man at all, is miles and miles away. And still, the gunslinger is getting close with each day it passes, for the world has moved, and the rules are not that clear anymore. This is not an action book, quite the opposite. It's almost a poem. Its beauty lies on the insanity of being alone, or almost alone in what seems to be an eternal chase. But in the end, the man in black is just a means. It's not the final goal. Beyond the man in black, many miles, many times, many worlds away, lies in the middle of all, the tower, the answer, the enigma, that pushes the gunslinger across the desert to his limit. I couldn't recommend this book enough. It's a slow burner for sure, but it creates a world that pulls you in so deep that you may be having a hard time coming back. It's so vague, it's so unsettling, it will leave you to wonder about the world that surrounds you. Number 4. The Monkey. I realized the shells were talking in a voice I recognized. I should have, it was my own. Had I always known that? I suppose I had. On some level, unless we're mad, I think most of us know the various voices of our own imaginations. This is the story of a broken man that after a life-destroying accident is trying to mend himself and goes to the perfect place to do so, a small beach house on the Maquis. In there he picks an old passion of his, art, and unknowingly becomes a door to that which was lying waiting in there to go out and start eating. This book is a haunted house full twist story, proving there are still new ways to tell even the oldest of tales. It's hard to explain much of the book without spoiling things, and it's just that the book evolves with such flow that everything needs to be experienced firsthand. It has some creepy, some shocking, and even some panic-inducing scenes, so the book will run you through the whole spectrum of fear, all on its own. A must-read, usually underrated, but totally worth every second you put into it. Number 3. Full dark, no stars. I suppose that evening in hell people got an occasional sip of water, if only so they could appreciate the full horror of unrequited thirst when it's set in again. 4 of the most twisted and dark stories ever brought to life by the master. I almost find it like an homage book, with the first story being a slow descent into madness, Lovecraft style. The second, a full revenge tale which Wes Craven surely would have loved. The third has words that live up to the satirical shocking pen of Clive Barker. And the fourth culminates with a good and well-constructed story that is all King. This is a must-read for horror fans in general, not only King fans. It goes always with the 4 stories proving King can do whatever he pleases and do it really well. It's at times depressing, at times scary, confusing, and shocking. This is not a book for the faint of heart. You have been warned. Number 2. It. The terror, which would not end for another 28 years, if it ever did end, began, so far as I know or can tell, with a boat made of sheet of newspaper floating down a gutter swollen with rain. There are monsters that live inside the world, and then there are the monsters that are the whole world. There's so much buzz for Pennywise these days, and yet the movies have not actually made him justice. He might have had something to do with the history of town, but you don't really understand that. Not fully until you read the book. And so the book is written in 2 parts, the Luther story and the Pennywise story. The best parts of the book, in my opinion, are all left outside the films. Everything you know Pennywise has done, every little secret that you know is hidden in there. The fact of knowing it's haunting the town from the start. And in the end you realize this is not about a monster clown eating children, because it, whatever it is what child-eating monsters fear. This is something a lot darker, that in the end will make you question your own mind and your reality. Number 1. Revival. Curiosity is a terrible thing, but it's human. So human. What would you do to know? So many people claim to hate not knowing something, but what if the answer to your question is not what you expected? What if the answer drives you mad? What if the answer kills you? I used to think that going mad would be worse than dying. After all, dying is just the vanishing of consciousness, right? But after reading Revival, I'm not so sure anymore. This is the story of a man who met a priest when he was a child, and the life that takes him back to that priest over and over again. This is a story about death, about obsession, about wanting to know, and about regretting finally finding out. This is a book you should never read if death is something that truly scares you. And if it doesn't scare you, it may do so by the end of the book. The most Lovecraftian story king has ever created, and one of the most terrifying. It's so vague, so unsettling, and takes away all the power of the characters and of the reader, that I consider it to be no less than a true horror masterpiece, and the best horror book written by the king. There are many other amazing books that probably could have been on this video, and maybe you have your favorites. If so, tell us in the comments down below your own top 5, and most importantly, why are these books in your top 5. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And don't forget we upload every Wednesday. See you all next time, and dark dreams.